This week's writing hack is to avoid the blame game, because no one likes to feel that they're being accused for having done something wrong, even if in fact they have done something wrong. So let's look at 2 strategies you can use to make your point without making an enemy. I should say that both of these strategies are appropriate when your concern is mainly to preserve a relationship, and it doesn't really matter that you assign blame to a particular party. These strategies would not be appropriate, for instance, in a disciplinary situation. So the first method is to use an I statement. If you've ever taken a course on conflict resolution, this will be familiar to you. What works as a conversational move in a face-to-face setting or a phone setting can work just as well in print. So here's an example of a blaming statement. You haven't submitted your progress report yet. To turn that into an I statement, flip that around, change perspective, and you get this: I haven't yet received your progress report. So this isn't a blaming statement, it's simply a neutral observation. Because who knows? There might even be a possibility that the person blamed in the first sentence didn't actually do anything wrong. Maybe the report was submitted, but it got lost somehow. Maybe the office dog ate it. Who knows? The second strategy you can use to avoid the blame game is to take advantage of passive voice. You will never hear me say, never use the passive voice. It has its strategic uses, and avoiding blame is one of them. Let's look at an example. So here's an active voice sentence. You misinformed the client about the change in the timetable. Direct, also accusing. Here's the passive voice version. The client has been misinformed about the change in the timetable. Again, this is a much more neutral version. Let's see why. So in the first sentence, what's happening here is that the subject of the sentence is you, and the subject is doing the action. You misinformed. In the second sentence, what's happening here is that the subject is now the client, and the client, of course, is just the poor victim. And the client isn't doing anything. Instead, the client has the action done to it. So it's a more indirect approach, and it avoids pointing that finger of accusation. Whenever you're writing about a situation in which something somehow has gone wrong, a ball has been dropped, remember that no one likes to feel that they've been called out. So take a more compassionate stance. Takes a couple more seconds, but you'll be surprised when you change perspective and think about how your reader is experiencing your words. You may be surprised at the difference it makes to your relationships in the workplace, your relationships with clients, and so on. When you write with empathy and sensitivity, you don't call your audience out. You call your audience in. You build those positive relationships, and in the end, those are really what keep business running.